welcome to another episode of the Weed and Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Lash, along with Lanaya, along with Gus.
And this is the Weed and Wrestling Podcast panel.
Yes, open panel discussion here.
What's up, people? How's everybody doing?
Yeah. How are y'all doing today? Hope you like, share, subscribe. Follow us on all our social medias. But
we're on Twitter or X, whatever, Facebook, YouTube, we're everywhere. Find us.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We're going to start doing what we can to bring in more folks. But today's, it's kind of ironic what our day's discussion is, because really the Weed and Wrestling Podcast has now evolved into a small faction. We do have 3 men and a woman that can make faction. And that's
true that.
Factions.
Faction.
And there is a long and storied history. Also, parts of it unknown. When I tried researching into like the earliest possible wrestling stables and stuff, I found some pretty interesting names. But they were more interesting names. I wasn't able to find them out past that. But factions, for those of you playing the home game who don't know anything about faction or stable, it is a grouping of wrestlers that get together and have a common cause, purpose, a common style, a common likes or dislikes when it comes to the wrestling business, and there's power in numbers, and they join together. And there's all kinds of different factions throughout all kinds of different eras through wrestling. And we'll dig through all that. First, we're going to get into our top 5s. Who would like to start?
All right, fine. I'll start. First off, I'd love to give my barbers a shout out over at Empire City Barbershop for making me look pretty. But factions. So I think this faction is one that is going to be on everybody's list at some shape or form. There have been many different members throughout the years, and I'm going to go with one of the factions that it's going to be on everybody's list, the Four Horsemen. Okay, and I'm talking about the original 4, because to me, they're the ones that started it. They were the elite before elite was it was something cool to be. And it was almost guaranteed anybody that was a part of that faction would go on to greatness. I mean, if you look at the list of members on that faction throughout the history of WCW, almost all of them had some form of greatness. They've gone on to win multiple championships. They've gone to be household names.
Yeah, they're all dominated.
So for me, correct me if I'm wrong, that's on the top of a lot of people's lists. In the Attitude Era, I mean, you could not get around without seeing DX. All right, D-Generation X, they broke the mold. They did stuff that was so controversial. They did stuff that was against the grain. I mean, the fact that they went on a broadcast after they got a letter from the USA Network to be like, "Hey, we're gonna pull your funding if you don't stop saying XYZ," and they went on and "Yeah, listen, USA told us not to say bleep, bleep, bleep." You know what I mean? Yeah. It was the most hilarious thing. And the fact that they went and they invaded WCW was priceless to me. That right there, I mean, they weren't afraid to pull any punches. As far as other factions go, you know what? The Nation of Domination. The Nation of Domination was such to me was such a powerful faction. I mean, you had a lot of greats come out of there. The one thing I will say that was a drawback for me is when they kind of split off and they created Los Boricuas and the what was the Disciples of the Apocalypse. I
Yeah,
thought it got really stupid with that, but out of the three, the Nation of Domination was like incredible. You had Ron Simmons, you had the now known as Godfather, but back then it was Kama Mustafa. You had The Rock. You had all these people coming up who
D'Lo.
became household names.
Not D'Lo Brown. No, Ahmed Johnson was probably the worst member of that faction.
I agree with you. And he was just very rough around the edges. He needed some more polishing, definitely.
But also Owen Hart was a Nation of Domination.
Yes. Yeah.
I always forget that.
The token white guy.
Yep.
Next up on my list, man, it was so hard for me to choose because there were some great factions, but I'm gonna say the original NWO, not the whole with half the roster was on. I'm talking about Hogan, Nash, and Hall. When it was those three, they disrupted wrestling completely. It was a whole new thing for me. It breathed new life into what WCW was. And you know what? For a fifth and final stable, it's hard for me. And I know I mean there were so many great stables, but I'm gonna go with the Radicals. When they came into WWF from WCW, come on now, that disrupted a lot of things going on in WWF. Nobody knew. I mean, we knew who they were from WCW, but when they came in together as a team, as a stable, it was like, holy shit, we need to watch our back.
Mm-hmm.
So
especially those four.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome list. How about you, Nalani?
Well, first of all, I don't want to say what Abel said. So I was editing my list because thanks, Gus.
We're going to have some similarities.
No, I mean, I think, with things like DX and stuff, I purposely left those out because it's going to be on top of everyone's list. And, me and him often talk about it during the streams and everything. So I'm like, people need to hear my opinion about that. There's so many other things. And also, it's hard for me to make the top 5 list because, I have so many opinions about so many things. So I just cut those off as we go, So actually, Ministry of Darkness was one of the ones I put on mine for factions. They don't get enough attention as I think they should, but they really had and we see it a lot with watching the earlier Attitude, that whole goth thing from the end of the 90s, early 2000s that they drew with them, and it was a team of really good people for the time, I think. What do you guys think about that? No, you guys both give me the blankest stares in the world, so I'm just like.
I'm listening. Good choice.
No, I think the Ministry of Darkness is a really good pick. You had a lot of good members. It took wrestling into a different direction. It was. I think that was the beginning of almost the blueprint of what the corporation would have been.
Yeah, I think so. Also, and that's another reason why I liked it because it was the beginning of that the corporate ministry and corporation, all those different things, which kind of ran WWF and wrestling for a very long time during our generation Attitude Era. So I think it's important to talk about that.
Yeah, I loved it when they tried to sacrifice Stephanie.
One of my favorite, that is so such everything. Everybody thinks about that, and it's such a good thing to remember, because we had a whole group try to sacrifice a person, and then they try to sacrifice Stone Cold too. That's where we're at as a people.
Yeah, they took Midian into a little jail prison cell and stuff for a couple weeks and stuff to make him.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was like, I like them because they don't get talked about a lot, but they really helped, propel a lot of different ideals and like ways of looking at things during that time. So the Heart Foundation is my next one before anybody else says it.
Okay. Okay.
um,
I
you
consider
know,
them, if we're talking about the original, I consider them more of a tag team, but they could fall under faction.
I'm talking about the one with all of them.
Okay.
Uh,
With
the
Brian
original,
Pillman, British Bulldog, Owen Hart.
yeah, the first iteration. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Uh, wasn't Jim Anvil in there too?
yeah, Jim
No.
Anvil.
No, I think he had
Yeah.
retired at that point.
He was in it a little bit. I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
I think he might not have wrestled, but I'm pretty sure he made appearances with him. Maybe.
Well,
I might be wrong.
I mean, that's what I remembered. Again, I could be wrong.
Mhm.
I also watch a lot of wrestling tapes, so I remember them. Like, anyway, since we're like discussing all of them anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so I'm going outside. Anyway, you know, I admire anybody that trained in a dungeon. It's a family that created a dynasty of legends, but unlike a lot of dynasties and legends in wrestling, they weren't fucked up people, and that's why I admire them. But not all the way fucked up, At least the ones that started were truly fucked up,
Okay.
and the fact that they keep producing like new legends is awesome to me. Um, I think that the combination of people we got from, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, the Anvil, British Bulldog, it was such a great mix of people also. It helped feed into a couple different generations of wrestling. And I think it's very important that we have someone left over with legacy and stuff, because that's how we connect different generations, especially things like wrestling. Because we lose the stories if you don't have those people, like everything else, but especially wrestling. Like, oh, I remember that match, not many people. I remember a match and things like that. So, and they were also talented.
Yeah, they were, without a doubt.
And yeah, I'm on number 2, right?
And that is correct.
Yeah.
I crossed out so many on my own list. Okay, not that one. You said that one. Okay, Wyatt family. That's the next one I'm going to talk about that I
Which one?
really like. I mean, Bray.
God rest
Such
his
a
soul.
talent. Yes, God rest so recipes. He's such a
And
talent.
Harper Lee too, right? Or was his
Yeah.
name Harper Lee?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Brody Lee, I think it was.
Brody Lee.
Brody. I was
Yeah.
like, Harvey Z is the person that wrote Kill Mockingbird, I think. But yeah. I don't want to say, I don't want to talk too much about him because I'll be like crying and stuff. I'm already wearing ears, so not good looks for me. But they create a stable of people that kind of reflected a family, which made them awesome. Even after Brave passing. And I wish we would see more of them. Wish we'd seen them active for longer. And it's sad, but I think they're really solid. And yeah. I hate some people on my own list. All right, I'm gonna say the bloodline.
Okay.
Excellent.
I kind of stayed away from them because they're like fresh. They're like yesterday.
I mean, but there's already so many iterations. Like I can start from the beginning with them, and that's why I like them because they keep changing, but they haven't gone away yet. But they don't piss me off like Judgment Day,
Okay.
which is not an honorable mention by me, by the way. Dishonorable mention.
Word.
I'm so bad with doing stuff. I love, you know what? I like this group. they weren't like huge stars and stuff like that. But I think they were really awesome and solid, and I think that I like reflecting back on them sometimes. Although they weren't the best, I think they're really solid and they were a great group. And Wade Barrett was in them. So I'm gonna say Nexus.
Okay. Okay. You know what? I didn't think of Nexus. I get where you're coming from because I mean you had a lot of great young guys that were up and comers that you're looking at
Made a
them
lot of people.
now and you're looking at them in different different promotions and they're doing a lot of great stuff.
And that's exactly why I'm thinking Nexus, because it's not just about the group, it's like what they do there and beyond. Because as we know, factions don't last forever. So I think they're a very good example of what good faction can do for a name and for just, you can tell that they were a good group because of the way they all help each other move up. So that's why I named them. Is that the last one? That's number 4. And my last one would be, I'm really going down my own list.
Yeah.
I want. Okay, so I'm literally going between Bullet Club and Evolution as my last pick.
Right on.
So much either equal.
Okay.
Bullet Club has everyone and their mom has gone through Bullet Club, so that's the reason to pick them as a faction. I find it very interesting as a faction, also.
Yeah.
Evolution, I find very interesting, also, and I also find it interesting they didn't last longer. When you go back and look at them, I feel like they should have lasted longer. And like if they were now, they definitely would have lasted longer,
Yeah. I mean, I look at Evolution, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they were like WWE's version of the Four Horsemen. You know what I mean? You had Flair, who was the mentor. You had H, who was the leader, and then you had the two young pups in Batista and Orton.
Yeah. They were around for just over a year.
Yeah, I thought I want to see so much more of them, especially because we know what happened to all of them after that. I think they would have been so much stronger as a faction. And like I said, when you go back and look at them, it's like, why didn't this last longer? Why wasn't this a thing?
Yeah, I think it didn't last as long as it should have. Obviously, because to me, like they were a rehash of what the Four Horsemen were. You know what I mean? I don't know if people recognize that, or if it was because Batista and Orton were ready for bigger things.
They were two also from Ohio Valley Wrestling. They were bred up by Jim Cornette. They were a part of that whole OVW class. Them, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar. That came from there, and they were all tutored by Cornette. And that was definitely the brush up for them to have Triple H and Ric Flair by their side that whole time. So it was definitely a stepping stone for them on to bigger things, which they did.
Yeah, they both did.
Yeah. But right on.
I think we lost Lanaya.
Yeah. That's what I was just checking. Well, folks, that takes the time for me to take a smoke break to tell you the fine nature of not actually smoking cigarettes, but smoke marijuana. Not all of us here at the Weed Wrestling Podcast smoke marijuana, but we have gotten talked to by fans before about how we don't bring up marijuana enough. Well, you often see me or Lanaya smoking it during our podcasts. What more promotion do you want? We supposed to remember strains? We're stoners, damn it. But yeah, I'll get to it while she's restarting her stuff. But, my number one was the entirety of the Four Horsemen. That's my number one. She's back. Yeah. And when I mean the entirety, I mean the entirety from the NWA days to the WCW days, because the WCW version was the first version I saw until I saw wrestling tapes and stuff later on from the 80s.
Okay.
And yeah, Chris Benoit, he was like one of my first favorite wrestlers, and Dean Malenko. There is not enough praise sung about how good Dean Malenko really, really was in the ring. Like, the man of 1,000 holds, it's no joke. And it's not that he would even put you in a boring hold. He would put you in hold after hold after hold and keep the pace of the match still going too.
Hell yeah. I remember I was just watching a match with him and Eddie Guerrero, and dude, they were flying.
Man.
That was one of the greatest matches ever.
Yeah. So Dean Malenko, just amazing. Chris Benoit, also absolutely amazing. He had lady with him as well, or woman. I mean, it said lady. But he had woman with him there. So I felt like he was like the one of the two newer ones that he kind of threw on that little bit of a high class persona and stuff, especially with women. She just always looked like $1,000,000. And then Arn Anderson, arguably I would say him and Billy Gunn are kind of tied for first as the greatest single tag team wrestlers of all time. Like, just to be a part of so many tag teams and just do so many great things with so many tag teams. Arn Anderson is just the shit.
Yeah,
and then Rick, Rick cut some of his best promos as the Four Horsemen in that time, and he also wrestled some of his best matches. And then also Mongo McMichael there. Rest in peace. He just passed us with us recently. But for a green as he was, the guy wasn't that awful. And he loved wrestling. So next up, I have the Dangerous Alliance. Which I wanted to bring up their list, because what a list of guys that you got on the Dangerous Alliance there. Which there was a couple iterations too. Obviously Paulie Dangerously, but Eddie Gilbert was actually in it. Gilbert, Austin Idol, Tommy Rich, Jack Hart. That was in the CWA. And then he had Adrian Adonis, Dennis Cordery, Randy Rose in the AWA. Then it's when he got to WCW that he had Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, Larry Zbyszko, Medusa, Michael Hayes, Rick Rude, and Steve Austin. What a group right there. Then it continues over into ECW where he had 911, Dark Patriot, Eddie Gilbert again, Jimmy Snuka, Shane Douglas, Sherry Martel, Sabu, and Taz. And then he had done another New Dangerous one, but that didn't last too long. They disbanded by 95, but still, so many great wrestlers came from that stable, and especially just their time in WCW. I mean, that list right there is just a bunch of legends. Like that's 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5. I think the only 6. That's 6 Hall of Famers outside of Bobby Eaton. I don't think Bobby Eaton's a Hall of Famer. But just really loved that group. My next one for my number 3, Bullet Club. Bullet Club is the most significant yet insignificant faction like ever. And when I mean insignificant, it's that they're primarily over in New Japan, and that's where they got their start. But the list of people that have all been successful from starting in Bullet Club is just insane.
Yep.
AJ Styles, Adam Cole, Chris Bay, David Finlay, got Jack Bonza, Jack Perry, Jay White, Juice Robinson, Carl Anderson, Kenny Omega. You got the Bucks. Scott Norton was in it. And then a whole bunch of other people. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa were both in it. I think they were like 4-time New Japan Tag Team champions over there. Too bad they're both injured right now. But there's been at one point during 2023, there was 5 different factions that were either had members of the Bullet Club in them or were Bullet Club. There was Bullet Club Gold, Bullet Club White, the original Bullet Club. Then there was the Judgment Day and the OC, all at the same time. And all active and all wrestling, and some of them champions. It just an incredible faction. Next up, got the NWO. And honorable mention to Wolfpack.
Nice.
Lots of people have more cherished memories about the Wolfpack than what they actually accomplished. They were only around for like about 5 months before the whole finger poke of doom happened, and they joined back together. So lots of people have fond memories of being like, oh man, Wolfpack was so cool. It was like, yeah, they had a really cool looking gimmick and they had cool music, but they really didn't end up doing anything. They didn't win any championships like outside of Kevin Nash. But NWO changed everything. Without the NWO, you don't have Bullet Club. You don't have a lot of the factions that came out from there. You don't have D-Generation X without the NWO.
Yeah, you definitely don't.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they're almost the polar opposite of Bullet Club, and the fact that everybody in wrestling knows the NWO. People still know the NWO. Like, what, the NWO hasn't been around, I think, they came back in 2005 for like
Jesus
3 or
fucking
4
Christ,
months.
15 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
yeah. But still, it's been 20 years, and that faction is still talked about.
Well,
Because they made such an impact. But whereas Bullet Club, unless you're an avid wrestling fan, you wouldn't know about Bullet Club. But you 100% have a favorite wrestler from Bullet Club. Like 100%.
Yeah.
There's a wrestler from Bullet Club that you like that you probably didn't know was in Bullet Club. Oh
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what I think that makes Bullet Club so significant is that there's a flavor for everybody. You
Yeah.
know, like to me, AJ Styles, dude, I got introduced to him in TNA, but to find out that he was part of Bullet Club, the evolution of Bullet Club, dude. I mean, and you had Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, you know, great tag team. So you have a lot of great talent coming out of the Bullet Club stable.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And that's where the opposites come up yet again. Because whereas the Bullet Club has propelled so many careers, NWO ended a lot of careers. A lot of the wrestlers from NWO a lot of them didn't go on to have too terrible much success after the fall of WCW and the fall of the NWO.
sure.
Whether it be that they retired.
I mean, you got to take into consideration. You got to take into consideration with the purchase of WCW and ECW, there wasn't much anywhere else for them to go unless it was overseas.
Oh yeah. But still, even then, by the time WCW was on its death rattle, so was NWO. They were on NWO 2000 by that point, which I think was only around for like 5 or 6 months. And even from there, like you got that NWO 2000, which had Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, Jeff Jarrett, and Bret Hart. But of those four, most of them went on to TNA and to have careers.
I mean,
most of them didn't go to WWE to continue having careers.
it's really hard. It's really hard because it was changing so rapidly at that point, and all the different things were going on with different companies. You know, like it's hard just to go back to that spot because there's so many people that slipped through the cracks because of the mergers, and they just didn't get a chance to go overseas. You know, and they didn't get the opportunity fast enough, things of that nature. So I don't even blame people for not being talented. I just blame because it was such a mass clusterfuck. It wasn't even their fault.
Yeah, it was there was a lot of things that contributed into the downfall of NWO, to the downfall of WCW, but also to the downfall of a lot of guys that after that didn't really have careers. Or if they did, it was nothing in comparison to when they were in NWO. But an honorable mention to Sean Waltman, Six, or X-Pac, and shout out to Rick Rude. They were the only two people that were both part of NWO and D-Generation X.
Rest in peace, Rick Rude.
Yep, and Rick Rude is also the only person to have shown up on both Raw and Raw and Nitro on the same night, because Raw was taped, and he was there for the Montreal Screwjob is when he left, but he had already filmed that Raw. And the next day he went to Nitro, and he went straight to WCW. He called up Eric Bischoff at the arena, and so because that Raw was taped, he was on Raw, and then he was also over on Nitro. But yeah, and my fifth one, I was fuddling around a bit with it. Because there's a lot of good ones out there. Try to see who would be honorable mention versus that. I'll go with Ministry of Darkness. My honorable mention, or tie for fifth, really would be the Von Erichs.
Okay.
They really, if you like, the furthest I could kind of go back, like with looking into it, really the Von Erichs was kind of the first like family stable. Outside of that was Jimmy Hart's original Hart Foundation. And yeah, the Von Erichs were all amazing. But Ministry of Darkness, that hit me right in the prime time. Ministry of Darkness was going on around the prime time, and I enjoyed it when it went into the corporate ministry too. Faction too big for its own good. Excuse me. And I just I just loved all the wrestlers in there. I mean, because of that, we got one of the greatest tag teams of all time, the APA. I might hate JBL as an individual, and hate his backstage bullying. I can't knock that man when he's tag teaming with Farouk.
Not at all.
Yeah, they were such a good complement to each other in that fact, and they were like the first members, like really, of that group.
Yeah.
And Viscera obviously don't care for. He injured a lot of people and was notoriously rough, but still he looked cool.
Pass away?
Huh?
Didn't he pass away?
Yeah, he passed away.
He passed away, but that doesn't change. That doesn't change how many people he injured.
Yeah, you know, like everybody talks about it too. So like,
yeah, rest in peace, brother. But he injured a lot of people.
it's not that, I mean, Vince kept hiring him, so obviously there's a disconnect somewhere.
Yeah. So
I mean,
yeah,
Vince was in love with the bigger guys, and you can't get much bigger than guys like Viscera or Yoko,
really
or he
If
like
your wrestler is going to kill your other wrestler, you have to let him go.
well, he did a couple times. But Mideon, he was awesome. Honestly, Mideon, kind of the MVP underdog. Looking up at the lights a lot, but still to put on a good match.
Yeah.
The Brood was a part of it for a bit.
Yes.
They were a part of it for like a month.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. And then Paul Bearer just all over the place.
Oh man, Paul Bearer is awesome, man.
I love Paul Bearer. But a lot of the different enemies and stuff that they had made throughout there, they were dominant. And that's the thing, is you also have one of the ultimate wrestlers of all time, The Undertaker. It's the fucking Undertaker. You know, he looked so cool then too. He had like that extra
Really did,
gothic, like fucking strap-on look going on. It was great.
I don't think that's the podcast that we're gonna be covering strap-ons, bro. You got the wrong podcast.
Hey, I'm talking about his costume, man. Talking about
I know
his
you are, but
costume. It had strap-on.
That's not the right terminology. That's not what you mean.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, strap-on vest.
No, no, stop saying strap-on, bro.
I
We're
digress.
live streaming this.
In the words of Taz, I digress. Yeah. Also, when it became the corporate ministry, that was really cool too, because then you got like a fusion of basically like part DX and you know part ministry, and that was just all really cool. Even though one of the most hilarious bad spots, and that was something I was meaning to mention, and as an honorable mention for bad worst promos, was the "It's me, Austin" when Vince revealed himself. The reveal, because the whole first part of that promo is really bad. But then the second part of the promo where Linda comes out and Stone Cold comes out, it's fucking great. Yeah, just loved that faction. Also honorable mention to the Dudley family. They were one of my earliest loves from ECW because there was just so many Dudleys. And Ed Hart Foundation, I absolutely loved Hart Foundation. Yeah, that's it for my list.
Okay, well, listen, I'm gonna throw in another honorable mention that I don't think anybody but the Main Event Mafia.
Yeah,
you
I was thinking about them.
Yeah, they just popped into my head as you were doing honorable mentions. I'm like, why didn't I mention them? You had Sting, you had Angle, you had Steiner, three of the like legends.
Yeah. Yeah, great. That's a great faction.
It was. Yep.
Anytime you can get Kurt Angle tied up into something, I'm gonna love it. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I love all versions of Kurt Angle and Perk Angle too. When he was Perk Angle in TNA and he was wearing black and mean as fuck, I watched some of those matches. He was brutal as shit.
I mean, like when I watch them now, I'm just like, I thought they were cool back then, but now I'm just like,
I mean, listen, it's different from the Kurt Angle that we got in WWE, where where he could be a tough guy, but then you also had the goofball that wore that tiny ass Toy Story cowboy hat. You know what I mean? Like you could get either one of those.
Yeah. But yeah, when he was a bad guy and he was just vicious in TNA, it was awesome.
It was pretty awesome, but it's still cheesy looking now when you look back on it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure that there's plenty of stuff. Like my least favorite thing that the NWO did was exploiting Scott Hall's alcoholism.
Yeah.
Like and Nash even regrets doing that, but he only regrets doing it to a degree because he was like that it wasn't a joke. He was like that was like a real thing that we pretty much had to do, and we're like, well, we might as well incorporate it onto the show because we're gonna have to find fucking Scott anyways.
Yeah. I mean, alcoholism and addiction is a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah.
Luckily, there are ways to get help.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of things that happen in pro wrestling that are cheesy and gimmicky. And I mean, if you go back all the way to the 80s, we could think about things that are very cringeworthy, especially by today's standards. One of which was Akeem the African Dream.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I love them as one man gang, and even as a kid, maybe because I was a kid at the time, I didn't get the whole thing of Akeem the African Dream until much, much later. Like, wait a minute, they just whitewashed a black character, and they're playing into the stereotypes. And I'm sure you've gotten. I mean, Scott Hall played a Cuban; he was Razor Ramon. Yeah, but I mean, with the difference there is that he played it cool. He didn't go.
Yokozuna was a Samoan. He was playing Japanese.
Yeah,
and that's even gone so far because I had watched the Stephanie's Place with the Anawahi family, and Solo Sikoa's middle name is Yokozuna.
That's hilarious.
His actual middle name is Yokozuna.
Hey, family, so tributes to tributes.
It fits.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there are a lot of. I mean, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He was made to play French and then British before he could actually play an American.
Right, but the difference there is that
that's believable.
It's believable, and if I'm not mistaken, he does have French heritage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like with One Man Gang all of a sudden being.
Oh, wasn't even trying to compare it.
No, like, you know what I mean? There's so like what's his name? The Muhammad Hassan. Remember Muhammad Hassan?
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the hottest heels, and he was played by an Italian guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I mean, I know we're getting off on a tangent from the factions. But yeah, I mean,
we are.
This could be a whole other conversation on its own.
And it will be.
Which, if you want cringe-worthy stuff for wrestling channel, I highly recommend is WrestleMe. They find a lot of the most obscure, hilarious, cringe-worthy stuff in wrestling. Definitely highly. Which one is it? It's I think it's Bash at the Beach 94 or 95. The one where they go to like for the Motor City Speedway thing, or like the motorcycle like festivals going on, and like the whole place is surrounded with motorcycles and shitty bikers.
I remember that.
Yeah. But with factions, there's a lot to name off. Shout out to cagematch.net for always having just great info on all this kind of stuff. Another big one that kind of happened not during my time was the Authority. Which also on cagematch.net, the most votes on a team, one of the highest rated, is the Shield.
Oh
yeah, that was definitely a good faction. I mean, look, you got all three stars like doing big things now.
I thought about it, but
at one point here, what was it, during 2023? You had all three of them held world titles at the same time. Yeah. So they were around for a good bit too. They were around for a good 3 years, their first run, and then came back for another 2. So they were around a good bit.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, the highest rated one's obviously the Four Horsemen, the original Four Horsemen. another one, and this one's from Japan. The second one is Damnation, which has a lot of Japanese wrestlers that for like a 5-year period there they were seeming to dominate the scene. Von Erichs are right up there. So is Heart Foundation. Let's see. Where's some other?
So let me pose a question to both of you.
Yeah.
If you could bring back a faction, no matter what era, if you could bring back a faction to compete today, which faction would you choose to bring back in their prime?
With the same members or the same kind of faction?
The same members.
Okay, with the same members that if they were in their prime.
I don't know.
Dangerous Alliance.
Okay.
Something? Dangerous Alliance is on my fucking list. I'm looking at it right now. I hate you now. I don't know because I didn't want to say what someone else said because it's really hard now because I don't think I have anything else on my list. I keep like looking at the same.
So
list.
go
I
with
would
what
like.
you got.
I mean, I don't know what I want to bring back. I mean, I'm not good at choices.
If there was to be something brought back without those wrestlers, I would love for the NWO to come back in some sort of way. I was talking to her previously about how if Cody Rhodes started a new NWO, that if he was to turn heel, that would be a pretty cool way to do it.
Yeah, but I think they would change the name to something else, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it just doesn't work with WWE.
Hey, his daddy was in the NWO. He's got the ties to it, baby. He can take that NWO name, Dusty, and let it happen.
Also, Dusty Rhodes. We're sorry he's doing this to you. I would have to say the Brood.
Okay.
I love them for the short time that they were there. Again, it's all that whole gothic appeal and stuff like that. Great time to be alive.
Okay.
What could you wear?
All right. Well, for me, I would bring back, and being that we lost, our truth and a little bit of comedy and a little bit of lightness in the world of wrestling, I would bring back Kai and Tai.
Kai and Tai.
I thought they were brilliant. I know they started off with more members than Shofunaki and Taka Michinoku, but they had some great vignettes. Like, I still remember to this day, them lynching Val Venus and holding a samurai sword to his penis. Like yeah. You don't see that, you know what I mean? But then so I think Kai and Tai would be a welcome comeback. I don't think it'll ever happen in the same way. And most people don't remember that Kai and Tai didn't just start off as a tag team. They started off as an actual faction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, not enough is said about Taka Michinoku and how much of an influence he has on wrestling because he was also a trainer for years, too. Hell, he has a move named after him, the Michinoku Driver.
Hell, he has his own promotion. I don't know if it's still around, but he's had his own promotion. Yeah.
Extremely significant, extremely amazing in the ring. I think he was one of the few ones that when my grandmother would watch wrestling with me, he would really enjoy him. Anytime she saw somebody that was of a smaller stature pull off some really cool shit, she loved Rey Mysterio. She fucking loved Rey Mysterio.
Who doesn't love Ray?
Yeah. He was put on one of the lowest rated factions.
The Filthy Animals?
the Filthy Animals. Yeah, they had a really low rating for whatever reason.
I mean,
they weren't really around that long.
they weren't around that long, but they weren't that good.
But they were showing off Ray without a mask. Maybe that's why people didn't like it.
Yeah, I was thinking that's one reason why they weren't so good.
They're like, get this pretty man off, then put a mask back on that pretty man. But yeah, now one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about too is the current state of factions in professional wrestling, because right now is a pretty bad time for factions, including AEW, especially there. They have the Death Riders led by Jon Moxley, and everybody hates them. I've seen it on comments, post after post, of how so done people are with the Death Riders. On the WWE end, Judgment Day. We are all so goddamn done with Judgment Day. And they keep on pressing them on. And really, outside of Judgment Day, who else do you really have as a faction on the main roster?
Who? I ask it all the time. Who? There's nobody. Like, there's nobody.
Yeah.
They kind of try to have some tag teams, but they're lackluster at best.
The only other faction that you could name, and they're not really a faction anymore, is the Bloodline. They were the most popular, known. Even if you didn't watch wrestling, for the most part, you knew who the Bloodline were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's true. When I got back into wrestling, somewhat in 2020, but then it really, I got back into it in like 2022 with WWE 2K 22, and I played that, and then it was like, who's the champion now? And then found out about Roman and everything, and I'm like, what? Who's this fucking guy? And then I watched a few of his matches, and I'm like, really? He's not that good in the ring. But then his shit improved over time. Then it went back down. But then it went back up again. I don't know. Roman's a confusing character. But yeah, there's nobody. There's no good factions going on right now, and the whole Judgment Day angle is just so over and done with. You got the Wyatt Six, but they just came back.
I mean,
and
I didn't like that. What's wrong with them?
And it's not like they've even come back to do a fucking match yet. And they were gone. And they were gone for over 2 months. Like, and what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to be like cultivating this whole cult-like, weird, murderous, like, aspect to them. But on one of the notes that I have for when we do our reviews, it is about the Wyatt Six, and that every time that they come in, they need to do their family fucking pose at the end.
I don't know why I just pictured the Ginyu Force.
Yeah, it is. It's like the fucking Ginyu Force. Holy shit. Good. I see you. Oh my god, they are the fucking Ginyu Force. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. My mind's blowing right now, Gus.
No, I'm just picturing one of them like
Yeah, that's what they so.
Go your Santa, go your Santa. At this point, now I really hope I'll try to write out to Botchamania to try and like please make a Ginyu Force comparison to fucking for the Wyatt family.
They should make a
It's just
T-shirt,
smart to do it
a
right
Ginyu Force, Wyatt 6,
Yeah. Oh
and then
God.
have Ron Simmons, not Ron Simmons, Art Truth in the background.
So I know what I'm doing when I'm getting done this. I'm trying to write because God damn it, Wyatt 6, stop it with the poses. And he says the same thing. We're here.
But really not. What are you doing?
And it's like, great, you're here. Are you guys gonna actually do anything?
No, they're not. They're the person that announced himself at a party and sits down drinking.
Yeah, and it's just a really bleak time right now for factions in general. Even they broke up Chase U on NXT there. Even though I don't watch them, I don't care about them. They broke them up.
I think the LWO is the only one, but they're not really.
They're not
used.
significant at all.
Like they should have been doing the whole thing where they're going after El Grande Americano, and they could have like alternate versions of El Grande Americano with everybody else that's in that stable.
It seems like when Ray got injured that anything LWO related got put to a pause, because I can't remember the last time I seen Joaquin Wilde or the other dude, I can't remember his name, in even a tag match. Or Dragon Lee for that match. Dragon Lee had one match last week. But even then, it's not like he was wearing LWO stuff. You know, so they're not really a significant factor or faction. And I guess American Made's technically a faction. I don't know.
They're focusing more on El Grande Americano.
Yeah, they're more focused on that, and then Alpha Academy is just a joke group at this point.
Yeah, they really are.
You know, and so it's pretty bleak creatively on a lot of.
There's no real, like, they need a good mix of and I hate to go back to when I was growing up, but they need factions like the Brood. They need factions like the Nation of Domination. They need some kind of something where
they need another force.
Yeah, they do.
Gotten AAA, so maybe they get some of those wrestlers and create a brand new stable.
I mean, they are kind of doing a new Dangerous Alliance with Seth, Braun, and Bronson. But even then, it's like they don't have a name. That's why I'm calling them the New Dangerous Alliance.
Yeah.
Because they haven't even given themselves a fucking name. Oh, did we lose Gus?
They're just Heyman's boys. Give me 1 second. We're still streaming.
Looks like we lost a people. Little bit of sheeple.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you guys are totally right.
Yeah, they don't even have a name.
They don't even have a name. And Alpha Academy, they could have done so much. Again, they're dumbing Otis down and other people. It's not cool.
Just call it the Dangerous Alliance. It's Paul's fucking thing.
It really is, though. It really is.
He had it in four different wrestling companies.
Seriously.
Just call it Dangerous Alliance. I'd be fine with that. Just give it a name.
Do something with them. Something meaningful.
Instead of calling it Seth Rollins Group. Like, you get, that's have you seen the Seth Rollins Group? It sounds like a fucking TED Talk or something. You seen Seth Rollins Group on TED Talk?
Sounds like a 60s band, like a 60s band to me, like the indie ones, indie rock groups.
Check out the Seth Rollins Group.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing you fine jazz of the 40s. Seth Rollins Group.
Let's just see where Gus is.
Yeah.
I think he's not signed on at all. Let's see. He might have had to start getting ready for work. He realized what time
Probably.
it is.
Probably. That works out anyways, because we were kind of wrapped up on talking about what we were talking about anyways.
Yeah, it's very true. Oh, he's having connection issues. Well, you know something? We were kind of done. We were kind of spiraling. It was a good podcast. I hope we got everything this time. If not, guess whose email is going to be all in tomorrow morning?
Please leave a comment and let us know. It doesn't seem like it's all there. Please, love of God, leave a comment. I'll like it.
Well, I'll leave a comment.
For the love of God, like, share, and subscribe. We're just poor podcasters. We don't know what we're doing. But with that, I feel we bid you adieu.
One sec. It was great seeing everyone. I'm sorry I'm not looking at you, but I'm really listening and looking at you and loving everyone. It was a great stream. Sorry for any difficulties. We'll definitely try to make sure that doesn't happen before. I definitely tried to make sure it didn't happen. I'll definitely try harder.
See, if you like, share, and subscribe with us, we can just do these live streams off of actual YouTube, which requires you to have 50 subscribers before you can live stream. So please.
Is that what
yeah,
please,
that's what it says.
Please.
I'm ready to make dummy accounts. Just do it.
That's what people do, but I'm like, do I have the time, patience? I might not.
I might.
All right. Well,
all right.
It's great seeing and talking to every one of you.
Wow. Yeah.
Have a great evening.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Dog couldn't have come at a better time.
People are kicking the